Well, I hope you learned something about heat on volume from our lab that we did previously. And today we're going to do some notes about that just to give you those for some reference. So here we go.
So we're looking about what happens to volume when we heat up matter today. And it kind of relates to the lab that we did last time. And we're going to look at some of the questions today in your assignment that have to do with these notes that we're going to do and this video. And also they relate to the lab that we did last week called Effective Heat on Volume. So today we're going to look at what happens to the volume of matter when it is heated. So if we think about volume, what's volume again? That's right, volume is the amount of space that something takes up, and we're going to see how that affects matter. And we're going to look at what happens to the particles of the matter in order for the volume to change. Now, if we add heat to matter, what is going to happen to the particles of that matter? Well, let's take a look. I've got a little simulator here that we're going to look at that will help us to understand what happens to the volume of matter. So with this little simulator, this video shows the particles that are in matter moving. And this is in a liquid. The example for this one is a liquid, but this would apply to all types of matter. So if you notice, as the slider increases, we're going from cold to hot. And what happens is the particles start to move faster and faster as it heats up, and they move farther and farther apart. There's the amount of space between those particles increases. And when the space increases, well, what happens to the volume of that matter when those particles actually move farther apart? Well, you're right, the volume gets bigger, the matter expands. Now, if we move the slider down so that we cool it down again and those particles lose energy, the spaces between the particles get smaller, and then the volume gets smaller for that entire object or substance in this case. And notice they're moving a lot slower now too because they've lost energy. So that's what's actually happening to the particles to increase the volume when it gets hot and then decrease the volume when it gets cold. So volume changes occur when heat's added to or removed from matter. And we saw that happening in the lab that we did last time where you heated up the ball and you tried to put it through the ring. And well, hopefully you saw that the ball didn't fit through because it expanded. So let's take a look at that. So adding heat to matter causes the particles to speed up and move farther apart, and they bump into each other more, which also helps them to move farther apart. And what we say here is that the matter expands, and that means that the volume gets bigger, or the volume increases. Now, if we take heat away from the matter, well, that slows the particles down and causes the particles to lose energy and move closer together. And in this case, we say that the matter contracts. So when the particles get closer together and the volume decreases, we say that it contracts. So that's the effect that heat has on the volume of matter.
Well, I hope you know how volume's now affected by heat and how matter changes in terms of its volume when you heat it. Hope you're doing well, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye.